Hi there, this is Larry coming to you with another Christ Church of Jackson video devotion. I wanted to share with you some information that came out of a Bible study we had this past weekend about the story of Joshua in Numbers 13 and 14. Everybody's familiar with the story of Joshua and the walls came tumbling down and stuff, but prior to that, there's a little bit of intrigue, and it has to do with perspectives and people taking advice. Sometimes we don't like to take advice, do we? Especially if we have a preconceived notion of what we want to believe. So it reminds me of the story of a man who went into the doctor's office. After the examination, the doctor said, you're going to have to lose some weight. The man was a little put out and he said, well, I want a second opinion. The doctor said, okay, I'll give you a second opinion. You're ugly too. We don't always want advice, do we? Well, after they come out of Egypt, Moses decided when they got to the border of Canaan to go into the promised land, he thought, let's send some people in and see what we're going to be up against. So he picked 12 men, one from each of the 12 tribes of Israel, and he commissioned them to go into the land and spy it out, see what's going on, be scouts. And among that group were two men, Caleb and Joshua. And they all went into the promised land and they spied the land out. There was all kinds of things that they saw. But when they came back, 10 of the men said, the land is full of fortified cities. The land is full of giants, giant men that we could never defeat. But Joshua and Caleb said, the land's flowing with milk and honey. Look, we've brought back samples of some of the fruit. There were clusters of grapes that they had to put on a pole and carry it between two men. Pomegranates and all kinds of luscious fruit. It's the old thing like you've heard before. Some people look at the glass and say it's half full. Some look at it and say it's half empty. It's all a matter of perspective. Well, Joshua and Caleb believed the Lord would bring them through this and give them the land that they'd been promised. But the vocal majority, the 10 men, and their stories of fear and intimidation convinced the people that they wouldn't want any part of that. And so the people were complaining, why in the world did we come out of Egypt to come here and not be able to go into the promised land? But Caleb and Joshua tried to convince them that God will give us this land. It's ours to have. All we have to do is take it. But the people wouldn't listen. And so even though they had been warned and given advice by Joshua and Caleb, don't rebel against the Lord. Take this seriously. We can do this. They wouldn't accept it. And so they refused to go into the promised land. And because of that, they spent 40 years wandering around in the wilderness. And they never made it in. That generation of people died in the desert. They never made it into the promised land. Now, they might have been great people. They may have had a solid faith in most cases. But in this case, they let fear stop them. Joshua and Caleb tried to talk them into letting their faith direct them. Faith versus fear. Now we go on to see 40 years later, when Joshua is he's not commissioned by Moses, who had passed away, he's commissioned by God. And if you look in the book of Joshua, in the first chapter, there is the commission that God gave to Joshua. Only be strong and courageous. Be careful to do according to the law which Moses my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or the left, so that you may have success wherever you go. This book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate upon it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you will have success. Be strong and courageous. Be full of faith. Trust me. God was saying to Joshua. And we know the story. He took that to heart. And Joshua and the children of Israel went into Canaan, and they were given the promised land. We all know the story of Joshua and the Battle of Jericho, and that was a real faith trip for them because of the way that they overcame that fortified city. It wasn't with might and strength on their part, but it was with God's miracle that the walls fell down and they were able to take the city. So here's the question for you. Do you have giants in your life? Do you see fortified cities everywhere you go? Are you full of fear, wondering what the future holds, what's going to happen tomorrow, how you're going to get through this one obstacle that you've run into? Well, here's some advice that I'll give you, and you can take this one to the bank. God says, be strong and courageous. He says, if you don't go to the left or the right, I will be with you and you will prosper and wherever you go. If we trust God, we should be able to have enough faith to plow right through all of those obstacles. Dealing with them, maybe they won't go away, maybe we'll just overcome them. There's all kinds of things that could happen, but it's all dependent on you and your perspective. Are you wanting to live in faith or in fear? And there's plenty of things in this world to fear. This is a scary world sometimes. But we serve a loving and powerful God. And you can have faith that he will be with you and you'll prosper in whatever you do. If you stick to the narrow way, don't go to the left, don't go to the right. Straight as an arrow to follow Jesus. And I think you'll find that that'll make you a lot happier too. So I hope you have a good day, good week. Hope this was helpful. And we look forward to seeing you again sometime. You have a good evening. Bye now.